Hi everyone, I'm Jhilik from APPSeCONNECT and I'm so happy to have you all join this webinar. Today we will be discussing about WooCommerce website performance and how to improve the speed of your web store because we all know that faster e-commerce sites get more revenue. Before getting into the technicalities, let us dive into some statistics. WooCommerce powers over 4.4 million e-commerce websites. That makes it the most popular e-commerce platform. According to BuiltWith, WooCommerce is the leading e-commerce platform with 24% of the market share worldwide. As you can see here, the number of WooCommerce stores grew from 400,000 in 2017 to 4 million, over 4 million in 2022. Let us check out some other crazy stats about WooCommerce. It powers over 4.4 million live websites currently. It powers over 28.19% of all the online stores, used by more than 2.4 million sites than Magento, which is another popular e-commerce platform. And over 22% of the top 1 million e-commerce sites use WooCommerce. WooCommerce is also the most popular plugin or module on the entire internet with over 68% usage distribution. So we can all see that when it comes to e-commerce platforms, WooCommerce is a preferred platform for a good reason. It is easy to set up, configure, and launch. But as more and more WooCommerce websites compete in the digital landscape, it is important for you to offer the best possible user experience. Tools like real-time inventory, personalization, live chat, etc. go a long way in giving users what they want and keep them coming back to your website. However, there is no feature or tool that can make up for one basic flaw, a slow website. If your WooCommerce website isn't performing well, your potential customers won't be able to properly browse through your catalog or see your products. That is why it is so important for you to optimize your website. With that said, I have with me today Mr. Arun Agarwal, Director and Web Performance Consultant at eBiz India, who helps businesses get more leads and sales online. He is a 360-degree digital marketing and CRO specialist with over 3 decades of experience in the IT industry. It is my absolute pleasure to have him deliver this session on WooCommerce performance optimization. Welcome, Mr. Arun Agarwal. Over to you.
Hi, Jhilik. Thanks for having me over. Hello, friends. Jhilik has already mentioned WooCommerce is so popular. And once you have the faster WooCommerce store, you can get much more sales and revenue. So that part is taken care of. But how do you do it? So that's very critical. Now, before we go on, you have a fast loading website. When a user clicks on your website and he sees something come up very fast, they are possibly they will have a tendency to stay longer. They will check out one of your products. They will add them to the cart, buy more. So that's your ultimate aim. Let's see what are the critical factors. So Amazon is telling that if your site is 100 milliseconds faster, you can expect a 1% revenue growth, which is actually quite important and very useful. Similarly, Google has also started taking the faster websites into account, and they have started rewarding them with better rankings. So how do Google compare two websites in your genre to see which one is faster and can I reward this website? So they have come up with some interesting stats called Core Web Vitals. Core Web Vitals basically consists of several factors, and the 3 important factors are the first input delay, the LCP, and the CLS, as you can see on the screen. So first input delay is the time from the time you click on the link and the first byte appears from the server to the browser. That much time is the first input delay. And as you can understand, if your site loads faster, if the data starts coming in much quicker, then your site will improve the performance. Largest contentful paint basically indicates what is the time from the click to the main hero image or the product image appearing on the screen. Cumulative layout shift is very important, and very interesting also. So many times you must have seen that there is a button on the screen and you want to click it, and then suddenly you realize that it moves down and something else appears on the screen, and you've clicked somewhere and you landed up somewhere else instead of where you wanted to go. So these are the factors which you should actually having top-notch figures for these to get a good performance on the Google for rankings, as well as for the user experience, who will reward you for more business. Total blocking time and introduction to next print are also very critical factors, and we'll be seeing these things in the case studies that we will be looking at a little later. Now, core web vitals are very important, we have seen, but how do you measure? Google has its own way of measuring, but we also need to measure these so that we can take care of improving the factors if they are not up to mark. So Lighthouse, Page Speed Insights, and Web Page Test are three very, very popular tools. I have given you the URLs here. Once you visit these, enter your website URL, then you will get to see what are the scores that are coming up. And then we will, as we will be discussing very soon, there are some nice ways to improve your score. Excuse me. There are nice ways to improve your score, which you can apply slowly one by one and get better performance. So let's dive in. There are two types of factors. We've divided them into the basic factors, and we have advanced factors, which will possibly take a little more effort to implement, but they will give you great results. Let's look at the basic factors first. The most important thing for your website is to have a fast web host. If you go for a cheap web host, which is say free or $5 per month or something like that, they would end up hosting thousands of sites on the same server. And they will all have contention, they will try to load up the database and all, which will definitely result in a slower website. If you intend to make a good lot of revenue from your site, you need to have a faster web host, which means possibly you go for Rackspace or Liquid Web, or there are so many other quality web hosts, you can choose your own. The next point is the protocol. Most of the sites are now coming up with HTTP by 2, which is a very good protocol. It can transfer more files at the same time. However, the latest protocol is HTTP 3, which is now becoming very popular. And if your server has got Nginx or maybe Lightspeed or some other tools, then you will be able to enjoy HTTP 3 on your server. See if you can get HTTP 3, but HTTP 2 is the basic. You have to have it. The next item is the lightweight theme. You should have a theme which does not, have all the sorts of bells and whistles, and which will possibly load up the size of your HTML page and other CSS and GS files, which will end up in huge amount of data being transferred without any significant impact. So you should have a lightweight theme. And you should minify the CSS and GS files. There are various tools available on the internet. There are some plugins on your WordPress which can do this. So this is quite easy and very easily doable. Similarly, you can also go for the gzip and Brotli compression. One of the two, Brotli is better. It gives you more compression. So what is the advantage of minified CSS, GS files and Brotli compression? Suppose you have a 1 MB file which needs to be transferred. With the Brotli compression, it will possibly end up being 100 kilobyte. So, this is the kind of advantage you will get, less amount of data transferred over the net, faster website as a result. Let's talk about some advanced factors. So one of the important thing is that when your web designer, builds your website, they add this plugin, that plugin, so many plugins they add up. And some of the plugins are very useful. Some of the plugins are not so important, but they are still lying there. Possibly it was one of the design aid plugin or something. More plugins means more data to load, more calculations to make for WordPress, which is the underlying engine for your WooCommerce site, slower website as a result. Sorry. A very, very powerful tool is a full page caching plugin. You can have WP Rocket, which is a paid plugin. Otherwise, you could also go for WT Super Cache. And there are other plugins which will basically, how WordPress works. It builds your main pages from the database by doing lots of queries, by picking up data from here and there. But with a full page caching plugin, this entire data is collected and the resulting HTML is cached. So once you ask for a particular page, that page will be delivered directly without doing any calculations in the backend. This will definitely result in a much faster first input delay, that the thing we talked about earlier. The next is image file size, which is possibly, in my personal opinion, the most critical thing. We get fancy photographs taken of your products, and then we just upload them directly to our store. I have seen people having 5 megabyte, 7 megabyte images, which will be possibly displayed on a mobile phone. Most of the people will be visiting your site through a mobile phone, a smartphone. So what you need to do is reduce the size of your images. And I have listed two tools, Kraken.io is there, TinyPNG is there, and there are some other tools also. What you need to do is reduce the file size of your image without losing the resolution, because you want to have good quality images of your products, but not large files. So if the file size is reduced, faster loading, better website. Another thing I have noticed is that so there are some people who tend to display a large number of products in their main category listing or the home page, so that they feel that let me show all the products that I have or all the product variations that could possibly be there. But what happens as a result is that it has to load so many images on the page, slowing down the entire page. So either you can reduce the number of products which is displayed on your one page, and you can do the paging. So you can go to the next page to see more products. Another way to handle this is to lazy load the secondary images. This is a technical term, but I'm hoping that you will understand. All the browsers are now supporting a very interesting tag called loading equal to lazy or loading equal to eager. So if your images which are below the fold, they are not displayed straight away, but when us to scroll down to see those images, if those images are loaded in the lazy format, then they will only be loaded or transferred over the network when the person has scrolled down and is ready to see those images. Otherwise, those images will not be downloaded, reducing the total amount of data that is transferred and reducing the total amount of time to display your page. So these two or three ideas, the image file size, number of products, and lazy loading, they are going to make tremendous difference to our page performance, as we will be seeing in some of the case studies also. As we mentioned, fewer plugins, that's the first item. The last item is the same one. If you can have identify your plugins which are not used. So maybe you have added 2 payment processors, but you are using only one. Then you can remove the plugin for the second payment processor, and that will improve the performance of your website. I think we will dive into the case studies, which will give you a very good idea of how people are doing it and what are the places where they can make further improvements to their performance. So the first case that we will talk about is the Christiana Bikes. It's a Netherlands-based website or Denmark-based website, I'm sure. Sorry. So this is the home page. This is how it comes up, and large image. So we did some study using a tool called Web Page Test. I mentioned that in the tools list. And I found that the first byte is coming in over here. You can see the first byte is coming in at 1 second. And the largest contentful paint is green, which is 1.794. I think I mentioned to you that it has to be within 2.5 seconds to get a green score. This means that their largest contentful paint performance is pretty good. Cumulative layout shift 0, which means the images do not move around. Fantastic. Total blocking time is red, which is greater than 0.7 seconds or 700 milliseconds. For a green score, I believe you need to have less than 500 milliseconds. So you have to do some work with the JavaScript files possibly. Let's dive a little bit more into this. So this is called waterfall. This is basically done using the web page test tool. And this shows all the assets that the browser is loading from this website. So the first item you can see is the main HTML page, and it is taking almost 1 second. As you can see over here, it is taking almost 1 second to appear. So that's pretty slow. However, they are using some very interesting facilities, which will I be showing you. Uh, I was a bit disturbed, not very comfortable with the standard frame image, which is taking a long time. And then I found that there is a home page image called Summerweb. This is loaded very late, number one. And number two, it is almost taking 1.3 seconds. If they would use tiny PNG to make these images smaller, sorry, then they would improve the performance even more. The LCP, I think, will come down to 1.2 seconds or something. Meanwhile, please remember that my tests were done on a Motorola G4 phone, which is considered as the standards to check your website. If you're on a desktop, fast Wi-Fi, then your website will load even faster. However, there are people who are on the move, they are at the airport or they are in a metro. They need to be able to see your website as well, because many times people actually visit your website while they are on the move. So these images can be made smaller. And one of the most interesting thing which I found is that they can start loading this image a bit earlier, and that will make the performance even better. I am getting into a bit of technical, so pardon me for that. I hope you're enjoying it. You see, this is the bandwidth from the way the data is transferred over the network. So I can see that almost no transfer is taking place till about 1.2 seconds or 1.3 seconds actually. So if you can utilize this space for transferring some of your important files, like maybe the logo or the images, then they can actually make the site perform even better. Let's see a very interesting thing I wanted to highlight here. I looked at the response which is coming when they load the home page, and I found that they are using Cloudflare cache, and it's a hit. As I mentioned, if your first page is completely ready when somebody wants it, so that is a full page cache, and it is now served through a thing called CDN, a content delivery network. And this is a hit, means that when you ask for this website, the browser will not even go to the origin server where the site is actually hosted, but they will be able to pick up the page right from the CDN, and that will give you fantastic performance. And they are possibly using the Kinsta web servers, which are considered as one of the fastest web servers. So they are doing some things which are very good. What they could also add to this is preload the image, the largest contentful page. We noticed those two images. If they could preload those images using the htaccess protocol, there are certain commands which they can use. It's very easy to get it over the internet. Then they will be able to get even faster performance. So this is about the Christiana bikes. I think we would move over to another case, which is Rihanna Jewelry. This is also using WordPress, but unfortunately they are, sorry, WooCommerce, but they're not being able to do some of the right things which they should be doing. So I would consider this website as a case study to show you some of the opportunities which you can have when improving the performance of your website. So this is the home page, as you can see. This is the desktop view, but the stats I am showing you are from a mobile phone. So please keep that in mind. You see, over the first byte is coming at 4.793 seconds. This is very slow. It should be 1 second or better. That means that, and we will possibly see it in the waterfall soon, that they are doing a lot of calculation, building the page dynamically, and then serving. They possibly haven't used any CDN or a full page cache. The rendering starts at 9.2 seconds. The largest contentful page is 10 seconds. This is pathetic. I would love to show you a video here of how this page comes up. So you just keep on waiting. Nobody is going to stay around for 10 seconds. This is one of the reasons they have very poor sales. They do get sales from reference and all, but people who come to their website by searching for their keywords and landing up on the page and trying to buy something, a large number of people must be getting frustrated and moving on. So these are the areas where there is a lot of opportunity for improvement. Let's dive a little deeper. So this is a section of the waterfall, So as you can see, there are a huge number of assets. This is taken from the middle of the waterfall, And I can already see that we are at asset number 234. Possibly they have 270 or something assets. Large number of assets being loaded whenever somebody comes to the web page. These are all the JPG images which are being loaded on the home page, and these are the product images. So there is no need to show these images the moment somebody comes up to your website. We can always show these images when they scroll down. So all these images should have been lazy loaded instead of directly loading. So these are some of the critical points where you can do a lot of improvement in the performance of your WooCommerce store. And once you put these improvements in place, then you will know that your store will perform faster and you will end up having much more revenue than you're currently having. Thank you. I think I would like to hand over control to Jilik to talk about the APPSeCONNECT facilities.
Right. So great session, Mr. Arun. Thank you so much for sharing the valuable tips. There are some insights which was a great learning for me as well. And since I'm into marketing, it will be really helpful for me and the website team to apply that in our website as well. So yeah, thank you. And with that said, with all those insights which you got for WooCommerce website and how to optimize the performance, how to make it faster. I just hope that it helps you and that you could learn some new things from here with which you can further optimize your site for better sales and results. So once a well-optimized, fast and scalable WooCommerce website is in place, you would have the need to automate data between your WooCommerce website and other systems like your ERP or CRM in order to manage every aspect of your business efficiently. With hundreds of pre-built integrations and out-of-box WooCommerce connector templates, AppSeConnect integration platform, it makes it easy for you to integrate your WooCommerce store with other applications like SAP, Dynamics, Sage, Priority, and many more. So in the case study you saw, we dived into Christiana Bikes, and I'm happy to share that Christiana Bikes is one of our customers and they use WooCommerce and ERP integration through AppSeConnect. If you have an interest in integration, want to automate your business processes, you can explore the available WooCommerce integrations and visit appseconnect.com/integrations to explore various e-commerce integrations which we have in place. All right, so now let's take some questions. So let me see what we have. We have received quite a few questions, I can see.
Okay.
So let me read out some, and Arun will be able to answer your queries. Okay. Someone wrote, you talked about a CDN. How does it benefit a store owner who only sells to a specific country? What if one sells around the world?
That's a very good question. So CDN is basically a content delivery network, and its primary purpose is they have data centers across the world at multiple locations. One of them is Cloudflare, which has got, I think, about 280 data centers around the world. So there will be one data center nearby to your user's location. And what they do is they pick up this information from your website and they store it locally. So the JavaScript files, the CSS files, the images mainly. Once, like for example, you are in US and somebody is visiting you from UK or Europe, then instead of going for the request going to right away to the US, what will happen is the CDN will deliver these images or the static files like the JS files or the CSS files from a data center which is very close to the user. So instead of say taking 150 or 200 milliseconds for the hop across the ocean, they will be able to deliver it within 30-40 milliseconds. So that is a very big advantage of using a CDN. Most of the CDNs are quite easy to integrate into a WordPress website. They have plugins which will just do most of the work. So I encourage you to use a CDN if you're not already doing it. Christiana Bikes, I saw that, as I mentioned, they are using a CDN. Rihanna Jewelry was not using it. So if you are interested, you can definitely try this out. It will be a very good addition to your store. The question was about what is the benefit if I am selling to a single country. Even
Yeah.
if you are selling to a single country, the data being stored at the CDN and being delivered directly from that, the advantage is that you will have lesser data bill. So if you are on Amazon web servers or some other hosting provider, less data will be transferred from your server to the users, which means that if you are having a highly trafficked site, your data storage and data egress cost will be much lower. That is one big advantage. Sorry for my throat. And if you sell it to the worldwide, then it is definitely a no-brainer because as I mentioned, your images, your files will get stored on a local server around the world. And if somebody is coming from, say, India or Asia, Japan or China or somewhere, then they will get a local copy somewhere very close to their location. So this will definitely improve the performance of your store by a huge margin. Highly recommend.
Highly recommended, right? So, coming to another question around plugins only, let me take this one. You have suggested to reduce the number of plugins I have. However, I cannot see any plugin that I can remove. What to do?
Oh, you stuck. Anyway, so yeah, that definitely happens. Maybe you've already cleaned up or you find that no, the 5, 10, 20 plugins that I have are all critical for me. There is no way out. Then all you can do is possibly keep your plugins up to date because some of the plugin providers, let me say most of the plugin providers, they keep optimizing their plugin for better performance. So if you cannot remove a plugin, optimize them, which means keep them up to date. That's it. You have to start.
So
You are
optimizing
stuck
and
with
decluttering is the key.
absolutely. And you
Right,
have to keep reviewing every month, or
right.
every 15 days. So maybe one of them has become obsolete.
Absolutely. It's an ongoing process.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. Uh, I'll take a couple more questions.
Yeah, sure.
I find that a lot of people add items to the cart but do not complete the purchase. What to do? This is a
This
good
is
one.
interesting. This is actually not directly related to web performance, which we are considering today, but most critical. If people are abandoning their carts left and right, uh, and you lose business, you tend to lose business. So one of the things which I believe we also talked about the user experience. So I have a very interesting suggestion for you. You do something called mystery shopping, which means that you get one of the people who are not very conversant with your website and you ask that person to use your website, add something to the cart, maybe 2 or 3 products, and then buy them. Go right across to the checkout process and go ahead. So what will happen is, and you just keep watching, don't brief them, don't give them any clues or don't prompt them, nudge them. You don't do anything, just keep watching. And then you will get a very good idea of where that person is getting stuck. Is he not being able to find out the proper checkout process? Or maybe you are asking for some information which a person does not readily have, so they cannot enter that and they end up abandoning the cart. There may be a lot of reasons, and most probably as the store owner, you would be able to find out the bottlenecks which are actually causing that person to abandon and then fix them.
Great.
Very interesting question. Yeah,
Very interesting question. I'll take a last one.
sure.
Let me see. Let me see. I have a bounce rate on my product page. How can I reduce this?
Bounce rate. Okay. Again, an off-topic question, but I'd be happy to take that. Firstly, let's see what is bounce rate for the few people who might not be fully aware of this. Bounce rate is the number of visitors who land up on a page and exit directly from that page without visiting any other page on your website.
Yeah.
So if you're running a campaign on Google or Facebook or somewhere else, and you get the person to land up on a page, say for example, you're selling a microphone or a shoe. The person comes to your website or lands up on that particular page and leaves directly from there instead of moving to another page. So that is the bounce rate for you. And if the bounce rate is very high, that it means that person is possibly not finding what they are looking for. This mostly happens when you run an ad campaign with a certain message or an incentive like 40% off or something, some other incentive. And when the person lands on your page, they do not find a connect. So if your ad says, latest shoes, Nike shoes, 40% off, and when they land up on the page, you possibly not even showing the Nike shoes, or maybe you are showing Nike shoes, but there is no hint that there is an offer of 40% available. So these are some of the reasons, the disconnect between the ad or the promotion and the landing page. If that disconnect is there, there is a very high chance that the person will bail out and they would not continue their shopping. So this again, that mystery shopper could possibly help you with that, or you can just click your ads or promotions and see whether there is a connect between the message on the ad and the landing page. This will definitely help you reduce the bounce rate. Of course, the next factor is what we have been talking all this time, the performance. I clicked on your ad, but nothing appears for 10 seconds. I'm not going to stay back and wait for you. I'll bail out, visit the next website. So make a website which is faster and there is a good connect between the promotion and the message, and you will be in the race.
Right. It has to look credible for people to trust.
Yeah,
and
those are
then
very
comes
important
the
factors
performance.
also. Yeah, very true. Very true.
Absolutely.
What
We
are the
have some
questions we've
more.
got, Lily?
Yeah, so we have some more questions, but I think we'll address them over email once they receive the webinar roundup blog and the video recording.
Sure.
They
Sure.
will
That's fine.
you all will respond, like we'll respond to the questions and you will receive an email.
Fantastic.
So an insightful session indeed. So thank you from both of us, from me, Jilik from AppPSeCONNECT, and Mr. Arun Agarwal from eBiz India. So if you have any further questions about website optimization, please reach out to Arun at ebizindia.com. And if you have an interest in WooCommerce integration, then reach out to sales at appseconnect.com.
Absolutely.
Have
Let's
a
end
nice
with
day.
saying a happy abundance, happy selling to all the viewers of this webinar who are
Yes.
seeing it live, or maybe they will see it later.
Right, right. Hope you had a good amount of learning from this session. Thank you and see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.